In the late 1960s, an Australian legend was created. It was a car, a homegrown Grand Tourer that was to change the way Australians looked at driving forever. Built for speed, it conquered mountains and captured the imagination of an entire generation. It started a legend that became known by two simple letters. This is the story of the Falcon GT. And the legend continues. By the 1960s, Australian society was undergoing rapid change. Women's lib, emergence of consumerism and the Vietnam War were transforming the sleepy land down under into a brave new world. Australia was on the verge of an economic boom, and people were eager to enjoy the pleasures denied to them by years of hard times. And like the rest of the world, we wanted cars. Fast cars.
Smooth and lively. New Falcon for 64, now priced with the lowest priced six-cylinder car. 64 Falcon with certified golden quality.
But we wanted more. We wanted cars like the ones in the American movies. And so a new type of car was created. Based on the standard Falcon, the powerful homegrown GT was to push the boundaries of motoring in Australia.
The high points of the history of the Falcon GT begin in 1967. Of course, when there was just this car, it was a limited edition special. And Ford, as it were, put a toe in the water to see how this thing would go. And people rushed out to buy them, and it was a fantastic, magical car. And the racing thing went on after that. And of course, then you've just got the images on the black and white television of Alan Moffat and his Phase 3 at Bathurst and racing against Peter Brock, and it's all that sort of stuff. You cannot separate the history of the cars from the history of the racing.
GT stands for Grand Tourer, and the XR GT was just that. It was a powerful vehicle, unlike any other Australian-produced car, with big road presence. The GT was first put to the test at Bathurst in 1967, raced in the Ford Works team under the leadership of Harry Firth.
There's no substitute for giving it.
Racing with Harry was Fred Gibson.
Bathurst in those days was more a sport then than it is a business now. And I remember Harry towing the car up there. It was a works car behind a panel van on a trailer. And that's the way the works car was presented, sort of thing.
I picked out Fred Gibson. He's the up-and-coming young bloke who drove sports cars and that very well. I thought, I can make something of Fred. He seems to have the right answers. I rang him up, said, get down there and we'll meet at Bathurst and we'll do something about this race.
56 feet, tread on the pedal, and some $100,000 surges forward in a blue haze of burnt rubber.
This was the GT's racing debut.
Cross pit straight, and the Falcons mean business. Is this showmanship, or can they keep it going?
The Ford team pushed the pace all day.
5 years' history here suggests Mount Panorama is too tough for the big cars. Busted stub axles, overheating, brake failure, or similar could be expected.
By the end of the day, it appeared that the hard work was paying off.
Nerves are wire-taut, the strain tremendous. Public largely unaware of the drama as Gagan gradually narrows Gibson's lead, second by second, lap by lap. And here's that vital pit stop. Gagan about 56 seconds behind. Less than an hour to go. Firth in control. Do nothing. No time to change drivers. Get that petrol in. 5 gallons. And go. Actual stop, 25 seconds. Still in front, but not by much. But these are the dying moments when drivers talk in the last lap. Gibson is the dark car up front. Holders, and you'll see Gagan in 53. Here he goes, 11 seconds behind.
But, much to the dismay of Firth and Gibson, the checkered flag fell on the racing Gagan brothers.
But up in the tower, the cross-checking ARDC execs now more than suspect they've made a boo-boo.
But they dropped the flag on the Gagans. What's going on here? You know, so we find that they had run out of petrol, going around the corner up on the mountain straight, gone in the pit gate, ran through the back of the pits, and come out, been credited with another lap because they're in the pit lane, and filled up the petrol. Now that is totally and utterly not allowed. They should have been excluded.
Weeks later, officials rectified their mistake, but this was no real compensation for not being winner on the day.
And the thing that really bugged me is they wouldn't give me back the class ribbon. It wasn't ribbon, it was the principle of it.
With its maiden win, the GT made its mark on the Australian motor racing scene. With such euphoria surrounding the victory, it was no wonder that more than one person took responsibility for its creation.
That's controversial, because I think really back in those days, Harry said like it was his creation and Bill Burke said it was his. But being the sort of guys they both were, I think they were both very much involved in the creation of the GT, and it was a creation of something like building a supercar.
Bill Burke was Assistant Managing Director of Ford Australia. Fresh from HQ in Detroit, he had a head full of ideas and petrol running through his veins.
Prior to the GT coming along, I described the Australian car scene as plain vanilla, pretty blah. Matter of fact, when I first went to Australia, things like heaters being standard equipment was unheard of. We had no air conditioning in Australia. Of all places that should have air conditioning, it should be Australia. Our initial V8 bills were specifically for the police, the various state police departments, and it became very popular with the police. Once we got greater availability of V8 engines, we introduced it to the public, and the V8 was extremely popular. Was Ford Australia eager to sell V8 Falcons to the police? Absolutely. The police were clamoring for them.
We had the two police pursuit cars, and they were part of the XR program. They were in the program. They were probably a minor variant. It really only added, a fourth engine and a fifth gearbox. And so we demonstrated that, and then we thought, gee, this is not a bad car. So after the XR program was done and finished and the cars were actually in production, we took that production car and made up a prototype GT out of that, and then lowered it, put wider wheels on it, put better rubber, and a few things like that, and made a GT. So that was the start.
It was really my idea. I, of course, am American, and I found out in my, by that time, 3 years in Australia, that young Australians are crazy about cars. And I thought that, you know, giving it a GT badge and some Go Faster stripes and a few other little things might make it appeal to the young people.
The head of the racing team was eager to get his hands on this new, powerful car.
I used to take it up the road to Maryborough of a night time, and I'd put the cap on, you know, and you'd sit on the side of the road, you'd pick some person up, woof, you know, behind him and sit there, then you'd let him go. And a lot of people would have, you know, a lot of pitter-patter.
But the idea of a four-door sports car was not greeted with as much enthusiasm by the executives in head office in the U.S.
Did my U.S. colleagues laugh at me because we had a four-door GT? Absolutely. Prior to our bringing out the Falcon GT, all GTs in the world were all two-door models. Certainly all those in the United States, and I believe all those in Europe.
And so a legend was born. Although the first GT was released to the public in only one colour, GT Gold, there were 6 specifically produced XR GTs painted silver with red racing stripes. These were the Gallagher 500 cars, made for the cigarette company Gallagher.
80 feet. Fascinating, isn't it?
Coming up, we go halfway around the world, 60 style.
10,500.
And take a long look back at the way racing used to be.
Robert's car spins and crashes backwards down a steep slope.